Hello and welcome everyone. Today we will be talking about the most controversial yet highly challenging sports competition called Olympic Games, where millions of athletes train for their whole lives in order to seize the moment of glory. While some fail on the scoreboard, but not in the eyes of the thousands of spectators around the world who just applaud the courage and patience it takes in few of us to reach their maximum potential. That's why it's important to understand how these games originate to expand our understanding about the significance of it. The Olympic Games began in ancient Greece. The original Greek Games were staged every fourth year for several hundred years until they were abolished in the early Christian era. The revival of the Olympic Games took place in 1896, and since then they have been staged every fourth year, except during World War I and World War II. Perhaps the basic difference between the ancient and modern Olympics is that the former was the ancient Greeks' way of saluting their gods, whereas the modern games are a manner of saluting the athletic talents of citizens of all nations around the world. The original Olympics featured competition in music, oratory, and theater performances as well. The modern games have a more expansive athletic agenda, and for 2.5 weeks they are supposed to replace the rancor of international conflict with friendly competition. However, in recent times, that lofty ideal has not always been attained. The earliest reliable date that recorded history gives for the first Olympics is 776 BC, although virtually all historians presume that the games began well before then. It is certain that during the midsummer of 776 BC, a festival was held at Olympia on the highly civilized eastern coast of the Peloponnesian Peninsula. That festival remained a regularly scheduled event taking place during the pre-Christian Golden Age of Greece as a testimony to the religious nature of the games, which were held in honor of Zeus, the most important god in the ancient Greek pantheon. All wars would cease during the contest. According to the earliest records, only one athletic event was held in the ancient Olympics, a foot race of about 183 meters or the length of the stadium. The first few Olympics had only local appeal and were limited to one race on one day. Only men were allowed to compete or attend. A second race, twice the length of the stadium, was added in the 14th Olympics, and a still longer race was added to the next competition 4 years later. When the powerful warlike Spartans began to compete, they influenced the agenda. The 18th Olympiad, including wrestling and a pentathlon consisting of running, jumping, spear throwing, discus throwing, and wrestling. The growth of the games fostered professionalism among the competitors, and the Olympic ideals waned as royalty began to compete for personal gains, particularly in the chariot events. Human beings were being glorified as well as the gods. Many winners erected statues to defy themselves. In 394 AD, the games were officially ended by the Roman Emperor Theodosius I, who felt that they had pagan connotations. The revival of the Olympic Games in 1896, unlike the original games, has a clear, concise history. Pierre de Coubertin, a young French nobleman, felt that he could institute an educational program in France that approximated the ancient Greek notion of a balanced development of mind and body. The Greeks themselves had tried to revive the Olympics by holding local athletic games in Athens during the 1800s, but without lasting success. It was Baron de Coubertin's determination and organizational genius, however, that gave impetus to the modern Olympic movement. In 1892, he addressed a meeting of the Union des Sports in Paris. Despite meager response, he persisted, and an international sports congress eventually convened on June 16, 1894, with delegates from Belgium, England, France, Greece, Italy, Russia, Spain, Sweden, and the United States in attendance. He advocated the revival of the Olympic Games. He found ready and unanimous support from the 9 countries. De Coubertin had initially planned to hold the Olympic Games in France, but the representatives convinced him that Greece was the appropriate country to host the first modern Olympics. The council did agree that the Olympics would move every 4 years to other great cities of the world. 13 countries competed at the Athens Games in 1896. 9 sports were on the agenda: cycling, fencing, gymnastics, lawn tennis, tennis, shooting, swimming, track and field, weightlifting, and wrestling. The 14 main US teams dominated the track and field events, taking first place in 9 of the 12 events. The games were a success, and a second Olympiad to be held in France was scheduled. Beginning in 1924, a Winter Olympics was included, to be held at a separate cold weather sports sites in the same year as the Summer Games. In 1980, about 1,600 athletes from 38 nations competed at Lake Placid, New York, in a program that included alpine and Nordic skiing, biathlon, ice hockey, figure skating, and speed skating. But the Summer Games, with its wide array of events, are still the focal point of the modern Olympics. Among the standard events are basketball, boxing, canoeing, cycling, fencing, field hockey, gymnastics, modern pentathlon, rowing, shooting, soccer, swimming, and diving, amongst others. New sports are already added to the roster at every Olympic Games. Among the more prominent are baseball, martial arts, and most recently triathlon, which was first contested at the 2000 Games. The Games are governed by the International Olympic Committee, whose headquarters is situated in Switzerland. To conclude the brief history about the origins of Olympic Games, it can be rightly said that these games offers hope and courage to the billions of people out there. Regardless of its glorious and violent past, it is a beacon of light that illuminates the humanity's shared goals. So if you have any suggestions on how to improve these games, then don't hesitate to mention in the comments. See you till next time.